You know, most people see a global crisis, a pandemic, a war, or a market crash as a disaster. They panic. They sell. They lose sleep wondering if they'll keep their job or if their savings will survive. But for the world's elite, these aren't tragedies. They're clearance sales. While you're scrolling through job postings, they're buying entire companies at 40% off. While you're worried about inflation eating your savings, they're using that same inflation to erase their debts and multiply their assets. The rich don't just survive global events. They use the volatility to reset the board. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how they do it. And then it strikes. But not just any time. Cash is king during a crisis. When markets crash, everyone needs cash. Companies need it to make payroll. Investors need it to cover margin calls. Regular people need it to pay rent. Suddenly everything is on sale, but nobody can afford to buy. Except those who prepared. Think of it like a predator in the wild. And what did Buffett do? While average investors have their money tied up in stocks that are crashing, billionaires keep massive amounts in what they call dry powder, cash and ultra-safe assets like US treasuries. Warren Buffett is the master of this strategy. Before the 2020 crash, Berkshire Hathaway was sitting on $128 billion in cash. People criticized him. They said he was too conservative. The market was hitting all-time highs and he was just waiting. Then COVID hit. Markets crashed 30% in weeks. He went shopping. He bought stakes in Bank of America, bought back Berkshire stock, and made deals that would have been impossible months earlier. That $128 billion? It became $200 billion in value within 2 years. Here's the key insight. The liquidity trap isn't about being smart during the crisis. It's about being prepared before it happens. Billionaires don't wait for the storm to buy an umbrella. They're holding 10 umbrellas before the first cloud appears. And when everyone else is drowning, they're selling those umbrellas at triple the price. Now let's talk about something even more powerful. Moving wealth across borders when one region becomes unstable. When a country faces political turmoil, coups, wars, economic collapse, what happens? Average citizens see their savings evaporate, their currency crashes, their property values tank. They're trapped. But billionaires? They saw this coming months ago. They've already moved their capital into what they call safe havens. London penthouses, New York real estate, Swiss bank vaults. This is the permanent vault strategy. It's not just about saving money. It's about buying cheap labor and land in the destabilized region, knowing it will recover. And when it does, they'll own it all. Let me give you a real example. In 2013, when Cyprus faced a banking crisis, wealthy Russians moved billions into London real estate before the collapse. They bought properties for £5 million that are now worth £15 million. But here's the kicker. While their money was safe in London, they also bought distressed assets back in Cyprus. Hotels, resorts, businesses, for 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. When Cyprus recovered 5 years later, those assets tripled in value. They won twice. The safe haven property appreciated in a stable market. And the distressed assets in the recovering region gave them 200 to 300% returns. This pattern repeats everywhere. Venezuelan billionaires moved wealth to Miami before hyperinflation. Turkish elites bought London and Dubai real estate before the lira collapsed. Ukrainian oligarchs had Swiss accounts ready before 2022. As one wealth manager told the Financial Times, "My clients don't diversify their investments, they diversify their citizenships." Think about that. While you're choosing between index funds, they're choosing between countries. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if you could win before the crisis even happens? What if you knew exactly how the government would respond? The stimulus packages, the interest rate cuts, the bailouts. That's not speculation, that's reality. And it's called asymmetric information. During the 2008 financial crisis, while average Americans were losing their homes, some hedge fund managers were making billions. How? They knew the government would bail out the banks. They knew interest rates would drop to zero. They knew quantitative easing was coming. How did they know? Because they were in the rooms where these decisions were made. They were economic advisors. They sat on Federal Reserve committees. They had private dinners with Treasury officials. Anything that holds value when currency gets diluted. Let me break that down. In early 2020, when COVID hit, what did governments do? They printed trillions of dollars. They dropped interest rates to zero. They sent stimulus checks. If you knew that was coming, and billionaires did, you would do two things. 1. Buy assets that benefit from money printing, real estate. 2. Borrow as much money as possible at low interest rates to buy more assets. And that's exactly what happened. Billionaire wealth increased by $3.9 trillion during the pandemic. Not despite the crisis, because of it. This is what we call the layers of the economy. Level 1 reacts to the news. They panic, they sell, they make emotional decisions. Level 2 understands what's happening and tries to adapt. Level 3 predicts what might happen based on patterns. Level 4 has connections and gets early signals. But Level 5? Level 5 creates the news. They advise the policymakers. They shape the response. By the time you hear about it, they've already positioned themselves to profit. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't illegal. It's just how power works. All right, final strategy. And this one might blow your mind. What if I told you that billionaires love inflation? That while you're watching your savings lose value every year, they're getting richer from that same inflation? Here's how. They use massive debt to buy assets during high inflation. It's called good debt. Imagine you borrow $10 million at 3% interest to buy a building. Inflation runs at 7% per year. What happens? The building's value increases with inflation. Let's say it's worth $12 million after a few years. But your debt? It's still $10 million. And because of inflation, that $10 million debt is actually worth less in real terms. You're paying it back with devalued currency. Meanwhile, you're collecting rent from the building that increases with inflation. So you're earning more while paying back less. It's like a compounding engine. Inflation, the thing that destroys a normal person's savings, becomes the fuel that accelerates their wealth. Real estate investors do this constantly. In 2021 to 2022, when inflation hit 8 to 9%, they borrowed hundreds of millions at 3 to 4% rates to buy property. The property values soared, the debt stayed the same, they made fortunes. Meanwhile, savers, people who kept their money in bank accounts earning 0.5% interest, lost 8% of their purchasing power every year. This is the ultimate reversal. The crisis that makes you poorer makes them richer. The inflation that eats your savings feeds their wealth machine. So let's bring it all together. Global events don't create new wealth. They simply transfer it. From those who are afraid to those who are prepared. From those who react to those who anticipate. The liquidity trap. Having cash when everyone else needs it. Geopolitical shifting. Moving wealth across borders before the storm hits. Policy influence. Knowing the government's response before it happens. Inflationary hedging. Using debt and assets to profit from currency devaluation. These aren't secrets, they're strategies. And the only question that matters is this. If the world changed tomorrow, would you be the one selling or the one with the permanent vault ready to buy? If you want to learn how to actually implement these strategies, how to build your own financial fortress, subscribe to this channel, drop a comment and tell me, which strategy surprised you the most? And which one do you think you could actually start using today? Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here next time.